for Classic Vacations white label with Mozio. The purpose of this video is to show you how to use Mozio's search engine in order to make a reservation for ground transportation in a way that the information that you give on the reservation is as accurate as possible. Providing accurate information in a reservation is a key element to ensuring that your travelers will not have any issues with the service itself. So it's important to know how a reservation must be made from the moment of the start, which is when you're going to search for the different options that Mozio offers when it comes to ground transportation. You can enter the pickup location, which is the first parameter that you will be asked in order to make a reservation with Mozio. And typically, when you're looking for a ride, you're looking for an airport to hotel ride or vice versa. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about how to search for the airport when you're making a reservation through Mozio. The first parameter that you can use when searching for an airport is the airport's IATA code. It's a three-letter code that basically designates the airport itself for IATA. Say, for example, your customers are traveling to New York. You can enter JFK, and it will recognize that it's the IATA code for JFK Airport in New York. Mozio system will also show you a little icon with a little plane and the label airport to signify that you're looking at an airport. You simply click on the entry from the drop-down list and the airport is selected as the pickup location. Say, for example, your customers are traveling to London and they're landing at Heathrow, you can enter LHR. And again, we see that Heathrow is the first option populated. Say they're traveling to Paris and they're landing at Charles de Gaulle, we can enter CDG and it will give me the entry for Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris. Using the IATA code is probably the simplest way to find the specific airport that you want to be booking from or to when making a reservation at Mozio. The second choice you have is to use the city that's served by that airport. So you can enter the name of the city. Say, for example, I enter, again, New York. It's going to give you a list of the airports that service the city of New York. So for example, here we have JFK Airport, we have LaGuardia Airport. Say we enter Paris, it's going to give me Charles de Gaulle Airport, Orly Airport, et Le Bourget Airport. So it's going to give me the airports that serve the city of Paris. Say we enter London, it's going to give me Heathrow, Stansted, and Gatwick. One thing you may have noticed here is that it also gives me a second type of icon here for St. Pancras Station. So if we're booking a ride from a train station, it'll also recognize it as a pickup location, and you can enter the name of the train station instead of the name of the airport. Third choice you have in order to search a pickup from an airport is to enter the actual name of the airport. So say, for example, your customers are traveling to Venice. You want to enter Marco Polo Airport. And it'll show you as a first option, Venezia Marco Polo Airport, right? And the IATA code VCE. Say, for example, they're traveling to Newark. You can enter Newark Liberty, and it'll give you as a first option the IATA code for Newark Liberty International Airport. So in order for you to find or to select the correct entry for an airport, you can use those three options. You can use the IATA code, you can use the name of the airport, or you can use the city that is served by that airport. For the sake of this exercise, let's use JFK, and let's see how else we can enter the drop-off location, in which case we're talking about a specific street address or a hotel name, right? So Mozio's website allows you to enter to the drop-off location or pickup location, depending on the sense of the ride, the name of the airport, the street address, and even landmarks. So say, for example, I enter the Lotte New York Palace Hotel. It's going to give me as a first option, Lotte New York Palace. Um, that's if I know the name of the specific hotel that the customer is going to be staying at. If I know the address, I can simply enter 455 Madison Avenue, for example, and it's going to allow me to enter the address. 455 Madison Avenue is also the street address for the New York Palace. So regardless of whether I enter the name of the hotel or its street address, it's going to allow me to book, and the information on the booking is still accurate. Now, Mozio's white label will also allow you to enter the name of a landmark. So if I say, for example, Central Park, it will allow you to book a ride to or from Central Park, um, in which case the problem will be where the pickup location is going to be, because we know that while Central Park is a known place, it's a vast area in New York. So for that reservation, the information is not accurate as booked. We may need to clarify later on where in Central Park the customer must be picked up, either from one of the places within Central Park, say, for example, the Met Museum or Central Park Zoo or the Wolfman Rink. We need to make sure that we specify later on where in the park the customer needs to be picked up. Otherwise, the driver will go anywhere in Central Park and the reservation is likely to fail, and we don't want that. So that's that. We can enter a landmark as well as one of the options. The system will allow us to do it, but it's not advisable to do so unless it's a very specific landmark. If we know that it's a place that is vast or that has many entrances, say, for example, I was booking a ride for the customer from Grand Central Station. Grand Central Station is not as vast as Central Park, but it is still a large area, right? It has different entrances. It covers three or four streets, right? So you have exits on three or four different streets. So the driver will simply pick one and they will probably notify the passenger, hey, I'm waiting for you at the exit in 42nd Street, for example, right? We want the customer to know in advance exactly where they need to be for their pickup or exactly where they'll be dropped off. The more accurate the information on the booking, the more likely the booking is to succeed. So it is important that we provide accurate information at the time of making the booking, even at the moment of starting to search for options. So for this specific exercise, we have JFK to, let's actually leave it at the New York Palace. Here we go. And let's continue booking. The way the pickup and drop-off fields work is basically with an integration on Google Maps. Anything that you can search on Google Maps should also be available on the pickup or drop-off fields at Mozio. So if you're hesitant about which address to use for your booking, you can consult on Google Maps exactly how the place is shown on Google Maps and use that as what you're going to enter for searching at Mozio. Next, we have pickup time and pickup date. Those are pretty self-explanatory, right? So for the pickup date is the local date in destination. So that's the local time and date when the customer is going to arrive in New York. So say, for example, I'm booking for my passenger who's traveling on the 15th of February, right? And then it allows me to select the pickup time when the customer must be picked up. You may have noticed that for rides from the airport, we have a toggle button here, which allows us to choose from pickup time or landing time. The advantage of selecting landing time is the fact that the driver will be monitoring the flight. So if the flight is delayed, the driver will have no other choice but to wait until the flight actually lands in the airport for them to actually establish the pickup time, right? So when you select landing time versus pickup time, the flight's actual landing time at the airport becomes the time when the driver shows up to fulfill the service. It is usually more of an advantage, and in the ground transportation industry is a preferred method versus pickup time. Of course, if you know your customers will need maybe some buffer at the airport and you want to book their driver to arrive a few minutes or an hour after the plane lands, you can select pickup time and choose the pickup time that best suits your customer's needs. The last field to field is number of travelers, and here you enter basically how much people are going to be traveling for this ride. So if it's two adults and a child, you're going to enter three. If it's two adults, you're entering two, and if it's just one person, you enter one. The important thing is to ensure that everybody is accounted for. While some reservations are for the entire vehicle, it's important to specify the correct number of passengers for safety reasons. So if more passengers show up than the amount on the reservation, they may be refused service as the driver was not notified that they would be coming on the ride as well. So it is always important to provide accurate information and to ensure that the number of travelers on the booking is accurate as well. We also have a toggle button for round trips. So say, for example, your customers are are arriving at JFK Airport and going to the New York Palace, and they wish to be taken from the New York Palace back to JFK when their trip ends. You can toggle the round trip button, and a return pickup date is going to populate for you. You simply select the customer's return date and pickup time in this case, and let's do actually uh, 1:15 in the afternoon. So you can specify that, and on the next page, when we see the options available for this specific ride, you're not going to see the cost of a one-way trip. You're going to see the cost of the round trip. So the ride from JFK to the New York Palace, and then from the New York Palace going back to JFK on the 23rd, right? So that's the advantage. You can book the whole thing in one step. You may be asking, what happens if my customers are landing at JFK on their arrival, but they're departing from LaGuardia when they leave? In that case, unfortunately, you will need to make two one-way reservations. So a round trip reservation is from point A to point B, and from point B back to point A. Unfortunately, it cannot be from point A going to point B, and then from point B returning to point C. So in that case, you will need two different reservations, one for the arrival from point A to point B, so JFK to the New York Palace, and one for the return, which is point B to point C, which is the New York Palace to LaGuardia Airport. In any case, the majority of times our customers land and depart from the same airport, so that's not likely to be an issue, but it is good to know.